The agenda is gonna be the same as it was, last week. The unfortunate part is it's June 20th and we don't have a budget. That means unfortunately now, so the board meets on, June 24th. And that we will not take the vote at that time. We will take the vote on, June 27th, which is the last possible day we can take it. Of course, getting folks on a Friday would be hard. And so we are gonna give our legislators as much chance as possible, to do the right thing. But it does not look like that is gonna happen. So what happens when we don't have a budget? We are literally guessing at what we're gonna be funded at. Are we gonna be funded even with last year, more than last year, as in the governor's budget, or less than last year, which is really sort of dangerous, right? None of these scenarios benefit anyone at all. And it's an awful place to be in. We were in it the same way last year. I will tell you that I believe Dr. B. Coates has a plan and of course needs the finances to work his plan, right? Like, the only people that say money doesn't matter are those of wealth. So, Mr. Kaufman, can we go through the agenda?
Sure.
But the highlight is getting to the
Scenarios.
the scenarios. Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You ready for me to...
Hello, Ms. Thompson. It's always good to see you. I hope you're having a fabulous summer break. And the agenda and presentation are in the chat for everyone. Go for it, Mr. Kaufman.
Okay. So as most of you have probably already seen, here was the ideal scenario given the governor's budget.
Can you make it bigger?
Yes,
please?
Sorry. I always forget I have this super large screen that I can see when I'm 2 feet away. The ideal scenario that was in the governor's budget, it's also the one that was passed by the House earlier this month, or something similar to, I should say. And the highlight here was, the 8.4 million in BEF for a total state funding increase of almost 9 million. And if that goes through, our plan was a 0% raise on taxes.
Right.
So
And can you just quickly go to the list to how we decide we were going to budget that money and what that afforded us?
Sure. So first we looked at our contracted expenses that are locked in for next year. Came up with the total. It's things like healthcare, transportation, other contracts for our maintenance of facilities and custodial, our debt service, things like that. And those increases came to 3.2 million. Then we have our state revenues here. And in the ideal scenario, we would have had $5.6 million remaining. However, we have these items that weren't contracted that we found necessary, particularly our teachers group. They do not have a contract into next year, so their increase wasn't included. So really this last line that you see should really be considered, a contracted item. We just didn't have a contract yet. And then there's other items like necessary additional special education teachers, things like that we thought was necessary to execute the strategic plan.
Right. So, and I want to be clear, these are not like extra, I went to the grocery store and I bought, extra box. These are things that, and they're mostly staffing, right? One of the differences in the William Penn School District is our ratio of adults to young people. The special education, as everyone in every educational facility is seeing a raise in special education students. Teachers, IAs, English language learner teacher, adding a regular education teacher, an additional safety officer, security at Kerr Field, contracted security, security overtime, again, to protect our young people from the outside, facilities master plan, and our well-deserved raises to our staff. All right, can you go to the 0 and then to the 3? We can skip everything in between.
Sounds good to me. So the 0% state funding still has all those contracted items because, like I said, we've already signed and committed to them on for next year. You see a 0% increase here highlighted in blue in the state funding, which means we have a deficit of $2.7 million. So all those items that we think are necessary that should be included, we had to exclude from the budget. We still are trying to include a raise for some of our employee groups. Have to exclude anything else we were considering. And then we have to make to make up for the original deficit plus the raises for some. So it would have while it would make us maintain some of our staff, we would still have to cut out some of our staff. And once they leave, it'd be very hard to get them back if we got a budget afterward. So.
Okay, now,
I have a question.
yeah, go for it.
So in the line of special ed where we'd be excluded, the teachers, that would be not hiring any new teachers, Bob? Or we'd have to eliminate some current teachers that we have for special ed?
So on line 60, where the plan was to get additional teachers to build more capacity at some of the schools, just to better service particular situations. Not that we're not servicing them, but we could enhance it and increase growth. Down here are the things that we actually already have that we would need to cut. Some security stuff, some other staff members, and things like that. And even doing all that, anything we could identify that would still leave us at a $600,000 deficit. So it would eat into our fund balance that we don't really have.
Right, and the issue with that is that we will get dinged on borrowing money once they've already warned us, the auditors, that our fund balance is far too low. They would like to see it be 8% of operating budget, I think, is what Edmund said.
So 8% of your annual expenditures is what the state maximum is without having anything committed to something. So we could actually have more than 8% because we could commit it to our future projects. It would make sense.
What does Edmund want us to be?
The GFOA, which oversees all governmental entities, recommends 3 months of fund balance.
So how much is that?
So if we're just talking payroll and payroll only, no other expenses, off the top of my head, that's
18 million, right?
2, 4, 3, 12, about 14 million.
Yep, there we go. Okay, so let's go to the 3% and in full transparency, I am asking school board directors to approve a 3% increase. And this will show you why.
So similar situation, we show our negative after our contracted amounts. We're still excluding everything except for the raise and some of the additional special education supports. Cutting some stuff here, and that will get us to a balanced budget, or near balanced. Again, this is just an example scenario. We would have to, once we identify people, we'd have real numbers and everything like that. But it would basically get us to balance, so that we didn't have that 600,000 deficit. And this is where you can see that 3% increase in tax.
Right.
Mr.
So
Yes, Ms. Lewell?
So when you say a 3% increase,
Mhm.
I think at one time we had some figures say like of a house, you were,
Yep, right here.
Right there.
that's what I wanted to see. Okay.
Yep. So it's on line 134 to 141.
Okay.
The top portion is if you have your homestead reduction. A lot of properties still see a decrease up to a $125,000 assessment. And then you see a lesser of an increase if you don't have the homestead on your property or properties, because you can only have it on one property. This would be the increases for different assessment values at a 3% increase.
Okay. Thank you.
And so besides not having to cut things that are really vital, the 3% is about being able to give our staff a contracted increase. We cannot let go of our staff for any reason. They're already at the bottom third in Delaware County, and we can't expect them to, in my opinion, stay when other districts are offering them $10,000 to $20,000 more. And the increase is modest, right? It's super modest. All right. Does anyone
Quick
have
question,
any-
if I might.
Yeah, Mr. Cave.
Yeah. What's the plan in presenting it next week during the vote? Is it going to be like, hey, plan, scenario A, scenario B,
No,
scenario C?
I will make a motion for a 3% increase. I will contact all school board directors between now and then and ask them for their vote.
Okay, so you're going to make one presentation scenario
Correct.
based off of the feedback that you've already gotten from directors.
I'm making the recommendation with the support of the superintendent and business office. And it's what allows us to survive. A 0 will not allow us to survive.
Got it.
Story. Like I wish we could. We went into January with Dr. B. Code saying 0%, 0%. We listened to the governor. We're all set to go, 0%. And now I don't have a budget. Now, I will tell you, if they do the budget July 15th, really does us absolutely no good as far as the taxpayer. Because the bills will be out and that will be that. So I wish I had better news. Any other questions?
Well, as it's stated, they said they will not be in session this week. So next week, there'll be like 7 days, night and day, but that still doesn't say that they'll come out, with the budget. So
they haven't worked a Friday since the beginning of time. So they'll have 4 days next week to work it out. May or may not happen. There's no one in Harrisburg that tells me we're going to have a budget by June 30th. 0 people.
There's got to be some optimism, though, right? We have an education-friendly governor. We have an education-friendly speaker, and I know the holdup is primarily in the Senate. But what percentage of optimism do we have going into next week? Honestly?
0. I mean, Ralph, I wish I had a different story to tell you. I'm an optimistic person in general, right? You're not doing this work for 16 years without being an optimist.
Sure.
Not a legislator tells me we will have a budget. Not one.
And one thing, it will have to require like a bipartisan agreement, and they're nowhere near that. So that's
the state hasn't passed a bill in a year. They've done 2 bills in a year. I mean, Ralph, if you can figure out a way for me to be optimistic, I'm all ears. You have my phone number. I wish no one likes to hear that they're not doing their budget. No one.
But
right?
I mean, if we look at it now, they're already sitting on a 14 billion surplus.
Or
Just give us what we want and let us go on, you know?
Yep, exactly. Ms.
3
Luella.
billion surplus we're
Exactly.
sitting on.
Exactly. Does anyone have any questions? Do you have anything else to close out, Mr. Kaufman?
I could just quickly go through the other items. I didn't
No,
pulled
just go
in.
to the last slide.
Okay. Same
And
status,
Go
timeline,
back
same
to House
status.
Bill 2370.
Yes.
This is malarkey too, right? This is a nice House bill, puts all the right stuff in it, went to the Senate, they laugh. Good old hearty laugh. Go on.
Just an update on the timeline. We sent the
Yep.
WPEA offer over on June 14th, and we're awaiting a response. Tax revenue anticipation note.
Which will have that information the middle of July.
Yep. And that's going to be a result of not knowing whether we're going to have state funding flowing over the summer without a budget.
Can we do the Tran regardless, or do we need to have that reason going in?
We can do it regardless. It's just that's
expensive.
if we were sitting on cash and knew we had cash coming, we wouldn't issue it and take on fees and stuff like that.
And other than like the origination, is there a cost to own? Is there interest, or is it more like a line of credit where you use it, you pay?
So there's origination fee, and then if we draw down, we would be charged interest. So if we don't draw down, we just have to pay an origination fee.
And how much is that about?
Can range anywhere from 50 to 90,000, I think.
Yeah, so the last time I remember we did a Tran, or we looked at a Tran, the cost was around $90,000.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I think that was under you, right?
Yeah.
All right. What else we got, Mr. Kaufman?
That is all. Just the timeline for the remainder of the year is just that we'll be voting on June 27th, or the board, I should say, not we, because I don't have a vote. And then I have to submit the budget to the state by July 12th, which is 10 working days after the vote.
All right. I'm available if anyone wants to chat about this. I will be contacting school board directors. I appreciate you guys hanging with us all budget season. It's a lovely thing to have citizens engage with us. It's super helpful. And so I want to say thank you and appreciate you all. You are absolutely welcome to come to Monday's meeting via Zoom or in person. And I'll be via Zoom, and on the 27th, we will be via Zoom. Also, you are certainly welcome to attend. I would love your support. Ms. Stewart, if you are talking, you are muted. Otherwise, you can talk to your household all you like. All right. I can't hear you. You're still muted. All right. Thank you, everyone. Be safe out there. Stay cool. And I appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.